The stars stretched cold and indifferent above, distant points of light mocking the humans' audacity. In this sector, alien empires ruled with precision, their fleets sweeping systems clean of resistance. To them, humans were a curiosity, a minor inconvenience at best. Captain Eric Voss, standing at the viewport of the transport Resolute, let their dismissive glances roll off him. He had learned early that survival was not about their approval. It was about exploiting their assumptions. Landfall in 10, the pilot announced, voice clipped and steady. The others shifted uneasily behind him. 12 cadets, green yet unshakably eager, stared at the swirling clouds of Thrax 9. The planet was no paradise, a death world infamous for storms that shredded flesh, acid rains that burned metal, and predators that hunted in packs like shadows. Eric didn't flinch. "Listen up," he said, eyes scanning each cadet. "This is no training exercise. None of what they've told you matters here. Your survival depends on thinking, adapting, and moving before the world, or the enemy, decides for you." A young cadet, Miricall, spoke up, voice tight. "Captain, how lethal are we talking?" Eric allowed a faint smile. "Imagine everything trying to kill you. Now add an enemy that thinks you're already dead. Then you'll understand." The transport shuddered violently as it pierced Thrax 9's upper atmosphere. The storm above screamed like 1,000 metallic banshees, winds tearing at the hull. Cadets clung to railings, white-knuckled, as lightning jagged the sky in green arcs. Below, jagged spires of rock jutted from the crimson soil, rivers of molten acid glimmering in the churning clouds. Touchdown was rough but controlled. The transport hissed as its landing stabilizers dug into the jagged terrain. Outside, the air reeked of ozone and decay. Even through filtered helmets, the toxic tang of alien flora clung to the senses. Eric led the group out immediately. He moved with quiet authority, scanning for hazards. "Keep formation tight, eyes forward. Nothing moves without my signal." A low hiss echoed from a nearby ridge. Cadets froze. A Thraxian skitter, a predator the size of a small vehicle, chitinous limbs glinting, crept along the rocks, sensing movement. Mary drew her sidearm, trembling. Eric's hand shot out. "Wait. Watch." The skitter passed, uninterested. "Your first lesson," Eric said, crouching. "The world doesn't attack for sport. It tests. Learn its language, its patterns, and you survive. Rush, panic, and it will eat you. Figuratively and literally." By mid-morning, the cadets had established rudimentary shelters amid jagged cliffs. Acid rain fell in spurts, sizzling against makeshift covers. Eric moved among them, checking sealants, scanning for structural weaknesses. "We're not just surviving the aliens," he reminded them. "We're surviving this planet. One misstep and you won't get a second chance." Over comms, a crackling voice came from orbit. It was not human. Alien syntax, formal, precise, almost ceremonial. General Xylo Th Kren's voice. "Cadets of the human contingent. Your efforts amuse us. Consider the weather, the terrain, the hazards, and yet you persist. Continue, and your folly will be complete." Eric listened, expression unreadable. He kept his calm, voice calm. "Message received. Persistence isn't folly, it's experience." The alien replied with a derisive hiss, then cut the link. Eric turned to the cadets. "They underestimate us. That's fine. It's always better when the enemy miscalculates." By afternoon, survival exercises had shifted from mundane to urgent. A sudden tremor split the ground beneath them. The cadets scattered instinctively as jagged rocks toppled, revealing a nest of Thrax 9's acid leeches, predatory creatures that struck without warning. Eric led the group to higher ground, using debris and jagged rocks as barricades. "Position yourself here, block there," he barked, moving with a fluid precision that belied his youth. Mary glanced at him, wide-eyed. "How do you know what to do?" "Because humans adapt. We learn quickly. Watch and follow, not blindly, but intelligently." The creatures circled below, hungry and patient. The cadets hesitated. Eric's hand landed firmly on Mary's shoulder. Do not wait for fear. Make it act, then react. That is control. Within minutes, the cadets implemented his instructions. Using acidic moss as a makeshift barrier and the planet's uneven terrain to funnel the creatures, they survived without a scratch. For the first time, the cadets allowed themselves a brief nod of confidence. By evening, they had gathered for a quiet debrief. Fires burned low, their heat fighting the alien chill that seeped into bones. Eric addressed them, voice soft but firm. Today you survived more than creatures. You survived doubt, your own and theirs. Tomorrow, the real test begins. The aliens will attack directly, expecting easy prey. We will be ready. Cadets exchanged glances, the gravity of the day settling in. They were tired, muddy, and battered by the planet's challenges, but they were alive, and more importantly, they had begun to understand the rules of Thrax 9. Far above, in orbit, sensors tracked every movement. General Xylo frowned, his multi-limbed form stiffening. They adapt, faster than projected. Not enough to win, but troubling. Eric did not know this. He only knew the wind would not break him, nor would the rain, nor the predators, nor the aliens who would soon descend. Each obstacle was a problem to solve. And humans solve problems better than anyone else. Night fell, thick and suffocating. Fires flickered against crimson skies, shadows stretching unnaturally. Cadets huddled, some restless, some silent, but all alert. Eric remained vigilant, eyes sweeping the horizon. He spoke only once more that night. Rest if you can. But remember this, survival is earned in every second. Breathe, move, adapt, and never, ever give them what they expect. That is how humans endure. That is how we win. The planet sighed, its storms momentarily abating, as if acknowledging the resilience of its newest tenants. The battle had not begun, and yet the humans had already made their mark, small, quiet, but unmistakable. Tomorrow, the aliens would arrive. And humans would be ready. The dawn on Thrax 9 arrived with a low, sulphurous fog that seeped into every crevice of the jagged cliffs. It was the kind of day that punished hesitation. Captain Eric Voss moved among his cadets, inspecting their makeshift barricades and improvised weapons. He noticed the tension behind their eyes, not fear, exactly, but the awareness that the alien assault would come any moment. Eyes sharp. They'll test us today, he said, voice quiet but carrying authority. Not with the planet this time, but with themselves. Predictable attacks. Straight lines. Overconfidence. That's how they think we'll fail. Mary Call adjusted her helmet. And if they don't attack predictably? Eric's grin was brief but sharp. Then we'll make them act predictably. Always stay 2 steps ahead. The first sign came from orbit, a flicker on the sensors, an unnatural spike in energy. Alien dropships tore through the clouds, each craft carrying squads armed with plasma rifles and energy shields. The cadets stiffened, but Eric held up a hand. Wait. Watch their pattern. The dropships circled once, scanning, calculating. Their approach was confident, clinical. The aliens assumed superiority. That assumption would be their undoing. Eric guided the cadets into the shadows of a jagged ridge. Split into pairs. Cover all exits. The moss on the rocks, it's acidic but pliable. We'll use it to slow their advance. Set the traps, and be ready to improvise. Mary glanced at the bubbling moss beneath their feet, hesitation in her eyes. It's dangerous. Everything here is, Eric said. Danger is just the planet talking. We respond. The first contact was sudden. A squad of alien troopers descended into the valley, expecting no resistance. Humans were supposed to flee. Instead, cadets emerged from the shadows, firing makeshift launchers that hurled volatile chemical charges, a mix of acidic moss residue and scavenged explosives. The alien shields flared, but several troopers were knocked off balance, sliding across jagged rock slopes into shallow pools of molten acid. Keep moving! Don't let them pin you! Eric barked, leading the cadets in a controlled retreat toward higher ground. The aliens recalibrated. Their leader's voice boomed in alien cadence over their comms, sharp and commanding. Insignificant creatures. Fluctuating patterns, contain them! Eric listened to the tone, noting the frustration. They're adjusting. Good. That makes them predictable. Miri, take the eastern flank and funnel them toward the ridge. Within minutes, the humans transformed the terrain into a funnel of death. Rocks loosened to create barriers, and chemical residue masked their heat signatures, confusing alien sensors. Cadets moved with purpose, silent coordination guiding every action. One trooper broke through the trap, heading for Miri. She froze for a heartbeat, then lunged, kicking him into a shallow crater filled with acidic sludge. She barely breathed, nodding to Eric, who gave a single approving glance. Good reflex, he said. Remember, we survive by adapting faster than they anticipate. Never stop thinking. By midday, the aliens escalated. They deployed mechanized walkers, bristling with cannons. Cadets scattered, ducking behind jagged spires, and Eric activated his improvised decoy. A mound of reflective panels and moss residue created a false heat signature. The walkers fired relentlessly, each shot exploding harmlessly against the decoy, revealing the human's position as a phantom elsewhere. Everyone move! Now! Eric shouted. Cadets surged to new positions while alien fire tore the ridge apart. By the time the walkers adjusted, the humans had vanished, reappearing in a natural choke point formed by cliffs and jagged terrain. The alien commander cursed in his guttural tongue. They anticipate every move. Analyze, adjust, do not fail. Eric crouched behind a rock, surveying the valley. His cadets were exhausted but coordinated. He whispered to Miri. See? They panic when the pattern breaks. They rely on order. We rely on instinct. That's the difference. Day turned into night, but the skirmishes did not relent. Alien squads attempted to flank, probing weaknesses. Each attempt was met with a combination of human ingenuity and environmental mastery. Rocks toppled, hidden pits swallowed armored troopers, and acidic flora was repurposed into defensive traps. Cadets were tested too. One, Jero, slipped into a crevice and twisted his ankle. Eric moved without hesitation, directing another cadet to secure a rope and anchor. He descended, lifted Jero, and coordinated their repositioning. This is why we move as one. No one is expendable. Learn that now. By the second day's end, the aliens had suffered more than expected, their sense of superiority cracking. Eric called a brief assembly atop a cliff, overlooking the battlefield. Fires from human traps glowed in the valleys below, smoke rising against the alien floodlights. Look at them, he said softly. They think they control the fight. They don't see what we see. Every ridge, every moss patch, every dip in the ground, we turn it into advantage. Tomorrow we strike where they least expect. Miri leaned toward him. You really think we can beat them? Eric's eyes scanned the horizon. Not just survive. Outthink them. Outlast them. Humans are not just fighters, they're unpredictable. That's what terrifies them more than anything. Numbers, weapons, and armor, they can all be countered. What they cannot predict, that is ours. Above, in orbit, General Xylo Th Kren's multi-limbed form stiffened. His sensors relayed anomalies he did not expect. Their strategy, it evolves. Faster than projections. Improbable. Contain them immediately. Yet containment was slipping from his grasp. Every trap, every diversion, every improvised tactic taught him one thing: these humans adapted. Not like machines, which followed logic. Not like most alien species, which followed hierarchy. Humans observed, analyzed, and improvised. As the night deepened, cadets huddled in the remnants of their shelters. Eric moved among them silently, ensuring no one faltered under fatigue or fear. He paused at each, offering a nod, a word, a reminder. We've survived the first assaults. Tomorrow, we strike not just to survive, but to turn their arrogance against them. They understood, even in their exhaustion. This was more than survival. It was a test of wit, courage, and adaptability. And humans, Eric reminded himself, were unparalleled when underestimated. High above, alien sensors flickered, recalibrating frantically. Xylo's expression betrayed irritation bordering on disbelief. They should have perished already. They should not have endured. What are they doing? Below, humans slept fitfully among jagged rocks, fires dimmed but hearts alert. Tomorrow would be the real battle. But tonight they had proven something essential. Against this world, against the aliens, against expectation itself, humans endured. And endurance, Eric knew, was only the beginning. The first light of Thrax 9 cut through the swirling red clouds, jagged rays illuminating the battlefield strewn with shattered rocks and smoldering debris. Captain Eric Voss crouched atop a cliff, surveying the alien positions below. The enemy expected a drawn-out battle, 3 days of attrition. They did not expect strategy. They did not expect humans. Positions, he whispered, scanning his cadets. Each nodded, eyes sharp, muscles coiled. This is it. We don't survive this battle by hiding. We end it, quick, precise, and where they least anticipate. Miri Call glanced at the alien drop zones, worry tightening her jaw. You're talking about hitting their command node, in one strike? Eric's gaze was steady. Exactly. All of their planning, all of their superiority, relies on the assumption that humans will follow predictable patterns. They've already proven, twice, that we don't. Now we exploit it. The cadets moved silently, blending with the jagged terrain, avoiding the alien sensors that had grown increasingly erratic after 2 days of unexpected resistance. Eric's plan hinged on patience, deception, and rapid execution. Every step was measured, every action rehearsed until instinct took over. From orbit, General Xylo Th Kren barked orders. His voice crackled through the battlefield's calms. Contain them! They cannot breach the central command. Increase firepower! Deploy walkers to the eastern ridge! Eric crouched, listening to the alien cadence. He smiled faintly. Predictable. They panic when forced to adjust. That's where we hit. The humans split into 3 squads. One would feign a frontal assault, drawing attention and fire. Another would flank via a narrow canyon, laying traps to slow reinforcements. The final squad, Eric and his best cadets, would strike the command node directly. Timing was everything. The signal came. Frontal squad engaged, launching chemical charges and debris projectiles. Alien troopers surged, confident, until half of them were caught in moss-fueled traps, slipping and sliding in the acidic sludge. Their shields flared uselessly, weapons scattering harmlessly across the cratered terrain. Good, Eric whispered. Now the canyon team. Cadets Miri and Jero led the flanking squad, dropping rocks and improvised explosives, forcing alien walkers to retreat into natural choke points. Sensors overloaded as the aliens tried to track their movements. Panic rippled through their ranks, and the aliens, trained for coordination, faltered. Command node is visible, Eric murmured, eyes narrowing. The humans moved swiftly across open ground, using debris, shadow, and terrain to conceal their approach. The alien defense perimeter, confident and arrogant, reacted too slowly, misreading decoys for the main attack. They reached the node. Eric crouched, scanning the alien technology, energy conduits, shield emitters, automated turrets. Quick and clean, he told his team. Disable sensors first, then knock out the command system. No mistakes. The cadets worked with silent efficiency. Jero's hands flew over alien circuitry, bypassing protocols with improvisation learned through 2 brutal days of trial. Miri planted pulse charges on the shield emitters, calculated to disrupt without drawing attention prematurely. Behind them, the battlefield erupted. The frontal team's assaults drew alien fire away from the node. Explosions rocked the cliffs, smoke and sparks masking human movement. Cadets ducked, moved, adjusted, every instinct honed by survival on Thrax 9. 5 seconds, Eric whispered. 3, 2, now! The charges detonated with precise timing. The command node flickered violently, shields collapsing. Alien sensors went dark. Communication scrambled. Confusion erupted among the alien troops. Fall back! Reorganize! Xylo's shrill command barely carried over the chaos. Panic was evident in his tone, a sound he had never expected to hear in his centuries of command. The humans didn't wait. They surged, disabling automated defenses, collapsing communication towers, and cutting off reinforcements. Every step was calculated, every move decisive. Within 15 minutes, what had been scheduled as a 3-day slaughter was over. Eric looked over the battlefield. Alien troopers staggered in disbelief, their carefully planned operations reduced to rubble. Fires burned along the ridges, smoke curling into the toxic sky. Cadets regrouped, breathing heavily, faces smeared with ash and sweat. Mary's voice trembled with a mixture of adrenaline and awe. We did it! Eric nodded, scanning for the alien commander. Xylo stood atop a distant ridge, multi-limbed form rigid, eyes wide with shock. Impossible! Humans cannot! The alien's usual arrogance was gone, replaced by disbelief. They adapt, they survive! No, this is unacceptable! Eric exhaled, feeling the weight of the moment. Humans do more than survive, he said softly, addressing the cadets. We adapt. We endure. We win when others expect failure. The aliens began retreating in disarray. Their troops, disciplined and trained for centuries, had no framework for understanding human improvisation, unpredictability, and relentless ingenuity. They had underestimated the cadets of Thrax 9, and it had cost them everything. Cadets moved among the wreckage, ensuring no one was left behind. Minor injuries were tended, equipment salvaged. The battlefield, though scarred, stood as a testament to human cunning and resilience. Eric called them together on the highest cliff, overlooking the valley. The wind cut sharp against their faces, but they stood tall, shoulders squared despite exhaustion. Today, you learned more than any drill could teach, he said. You learned that ingenuity, courage, and adaptability outweigh numbers, technology, and arrogance. Remember this moment. Mary raised a hand, pointing to the retreating aliens. They won't underestimate us again, will they? Eric shook his head slowly. They will. And they will fail again. That's the advantage of being underestimated. Your enemy's arrogance is your weapon. High above, in orbit, Xylo's expression darkened. His reputation, carefully built over centuries, had been shattered by creatures he considered insignificant. They survived, all impossible, calculations wrong, he muttered, almost incoherently. They, humans, cannot be. Below, the humans didn't wait for recognition. They knew that victory was earned in every breath, in every choice, in every calculated risk. They had turned a lethal exercise into a decisive demonstration. Humans were not to be counted out, not now, not ever. As night fell over Thrax 9, cadets gathered around dim fires, exhausted but victorious. Eric walked among them silently, offering brief nods of approval, letting the weight of the day sink in. Rest, he said finally. Tomorrow, we prepare for what comes next. But tonight we remember that humans endure. We adapt. We survive. And sometimes, we turn impossibility into triumph. The planet sighed, its storms momentarily abating, as if acknowledging the presence of creatures that had mastered its perils and bested the supposedly invincible alien forces. For the first time, Thrax 9 bore witness not just to survival, but to humanity's audacity, ingenuity, and unwavering spirit. The galaxy would remember this day. And humans, for all their seeming fragility, had made it clear, underestimate them at your own peril.